Well, over a year has passed since Israeli airstrikes killed Hassan Nasrallah in his Beirut bunker on September 27, 2024. And just 2 days ago, on November 23, 2025, Israel assassinated Ali Tabatabai, Hezbollah's military chief of staff, in yet another surgical strike on southern Beirut. And Hezbollah's response? Rhetoric, statements, defiant proclamation that sounds increasingly hollow against the backdrop of organizational paralysis. Well, the uncomfortable truth for Hezbollah emerging from Israeli and American intelligence assessment is this: Hezbollah may lack the coherent command structure, operational coordination, and strategic leadership necessary to execute meaningful retaliation against Israel. But many would argue that intel assessments have gone wrong in the past. So today, we will tell you exactly why the recent Beirut strikes by IDF might be the final nail in the coffin of Hezbollah's retaliation capabilities, which this terror organization has boasted for years. First, let's start with the body count. Israel hasn't merely killed Hezbollah's leaders, it has systematically extracted 3 layers of Hezbollah's command hierarchy simultaneously, a decapitation so comprehensive that the entire succession chain collapsed. Hassan Nasrallah, the organization ideological and operation nucleus for 32 years dead. Hashim Safeddin, the designated heir apparatus groomed for succession, dead within weeks of Nasrallah's assassination. Ali Karaki, commander of the Southern Front, dead. Then comes Ibrahim Akil, the Rwanda Force Operations Chief, who was also assassinated by the IDF. Well, the list extends to dozens of brigade commanders, intelligence officers, and the elite unit leaders who form the institutional memory of Hezbollah's military operations. But the organizational catastrophe transcends individual assassinations. In September 2024, Israel executed what many analysts now describe as one of the most devastating intelligence operations in modern warfare, simultaneously detonating thousands of Hezbollah pages and walkie-talkies, killing and maiming mid-level commanders, while also finishing the organization's secure communication infrastructure. Well, after the pager blast, suddenly regional military units previously coordinated through encrypted networks were operating blindedly, unable to communicate with the higher command or coordinating across geographical boundaries. Now comes the leadership vacuum that compounds the entire crisis within the Hezbollah ranks. Naim Qasim, appointed Secretary General after Nasrallah's death, lacks his predecessor's military expertise, authority, and most importantly, political acumen that unified factions within Hezbollah. In fact, multiple analysts characterize Qasim as a softer, more cautious voice, precisely the wrong temperament for authorizing major retaliatory operations, and when doing so, invites major Israeli counterstrikes. In fact, he's a religious philosopher, thrust into military command, lacking the operational credibility to compel subordinates into high-risk confrontations. Now, the organizational structure itself has been fractured. Hezbollah's hierarchical system depends on centralized decision-making flowing from the Secretary General through regional commanders to tactical units. Now, with multiple layers assassinated and succession uncertain, regional forces now operate within limited coordination. In fact, the Long War General's October 2024 assessment confirmed that Hezbollah's military force in southern Lebanon are disorganized, unable to execute coordinated operation at battalion scale or above. And it also mentions increasingly reliant on harassment tactics rather than strategic military campaigns. Well, here's the strategic trap. Israel has deliberately created a structure that makes retaliation suicidal for Hezbollah. Any significant attack, rocket barrages on northern Israeli cities, infiltration attempts, coordinated strikes will trigger overwhelming Israeli retaliation that will further decapitate remaining leadership of Hezbollah. In fact, Israel's defense minister Katz announced a zero-tolerance policy immediately after Tabatabai's assassination, signaling that Israel will escalate rather than exercise restraint. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu has also vowed that Israel will not permit Hezbollah to rebuild its strength. Well, with these warnings, the psychological warfare is complete. Now let's talk about Hezbollah's arms arsenal. Hezbollah possesses residue of military hardware, perhaps 20,000 to 40,000 rockets, anti-tank missiles, some precision-guided systems. But the most important thing is weapons without unified command are merely stockpiles, not strategic capability. Well, what remains in an organization technologically capable of violence but strategically incapable of anything, equipped to strike but unable to coordinate, possesses weapons but lacking unified will.